You said that the word investing for a lot of people is scary, right? And I think there's merit to that. There's reason for that. Because the moment you enter that market, you will get a whole lot of jargon. You will get a million different financial products to buy. You can buy options, puts. You can buy stocks. You can buy bonds. You can buy 1,000 different things from 1,000 different parties. And where do you start, right? Do you buy gold now? Do you buy silver now? Do you buy, I don't know, a share of Tesla now? What do you buy, right? How do you know? And then you start Googling it and you start reading a couple of books, and then you learn things like technical analysis, and you learn things like, you learn all sorts of different ways on how to look at. It's too much. It's too much. It's too complicated and even complex, I would use here. And to me personally, and let me know what you think about this, the most boring way, to me, has been the most effective way and works beautifully. And what I mean with the most boring way, and I think this aligns with what you're saying, the most boring way is literally decreasing your risk as much as you can and making it compound. So doing it consistently over time so that the savings of, not necessarily the savings, but for example, I love dividends, and dividends are, for everybody who's watching and listening who doesn't know what a dividend is, if a company earns money, they can decide to pay a very small amount of their profits for each share that you own, right? So if you own 10 shares and each share gives you 2 cents of dividend, you get 20 cents of dividend. That's how it works. The point is, after a year, or maybe even after a month, depending on when they pay out dividend, that dividend you can put it back into stocks, right? So it's not you're not growing linearly, you're growing exponentially, because every year you grow a little bit faster if you put in $100 or €100 every month, because that 1,200 that you build every year, there's a very small amount of that gets thrown on top of that, which is beautiful.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. I love boring. And I have to say, like my latest episode of my podcast is all about this topic. It's about how do you get into investing in the first place? How do you do it in the boring way? I think it's so important. Like just because there's a buffet with 100 options doesn't mean you have to go and figure out how to eat all 100 things. You go pick the thing you feel comfortable with, focus on the thing that matches you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I do get it. It is overwhelming. Like you mentioned many different strategies, and I tried to touch on what these strategies are. You mentioned like options, for instance. I personally love options. I don't recommend it to anyone. No one. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell anyone to do it. I do it because I know what I'm doing, because I did other things for so long. I naturally got there, but I wouldn't recommend my kid touch it at all. Like it's too dangerous. So like I touch on these things in the book so you understand that at some point, one, you might be further along, or two, you're going to eventually be further along and these things will be applicable to you. But I mentioned like there's all these other books and I usually touch on one or two great things. And I try to bring all those ideas in. And one of my favorite strategies for the new investor is just the low cost ETF. And so it's like, don't worry about anything else in the world. Just worry about ETFs. And if you don't know what ETFs are, it's like instead of buying shares into a single stock, think of it as automatically as like this group that's diversified for you, right? So one thing goes down, and the other one might go up, and overall your investment hopefully is still, going up instead of down. So you don't have to be a stock master. You just pick an ETF and it'll handle a lot of it for you. You pick a low cost one, and that has some reliability too, some historical reliability, and just automatically have money investing into it every month. You don't even think about it, because this is the truth. When money, you will spend what is left in your paycheck. And if that money was still in your paycheck, you're going to find something to do with it.
Yeah.
But if it's automatically gone, because just like those other deductions, like the money you might put in a retirement account or the money that goes to taxes, just when that money's gone, you're not spending that and you're okay. Let whatever you can afford automatically go into that low cost ETF. And just like, like Jeffrey, what you were saying, you were talking about drip. This idea that dividends are reinvesting itself back in. And that's called drip. And what that's doing is it's creating an exponential curve, because that is constantly pumping itself with more to grow against. And that's powerful.
Yeah.
And so, but what I would actually recommend for our new investors, don't worry about dividends. Like dividends aren't going to grow as well, and you're looking for growth. Dividends are great for the person who's built up a nice long, big portfolio, and or they're in the middle phase and they're looking to get the next boost.
Yeah.
Me, I moved everything to dividends because I'm like in a quote unquote retirement situation. I actually have those dividends paying cash into a bank account instead of reinvesting. That's actually a paycheck for me. So that's one thing I cover in the book, and I know you haven't seen the book yet. So we talked about many important things, but what we didn't talk about was passive income. And unlike unlike fire doesn't talk about passive income necessarily. Barista fire touches it a little bit, but we can get into fire too if you want. But some of these big movements, there's so much focus on savings. Save to some magic number, and then you're going to pull money out of that savings and live off of it. Then I don't think that works for most people. I think it works for some people. I don't think it works for most, because I think there's power in a payment to you. There's power in a paycheck. There's a reason you want that to keep coming. When you have cash flow coming in, one, it's kind of exciting. Oh, I got more money this month because I got more cash. I can do more. Maybe I'll go splurge it. Maybe I'll go to this concert. That's great. And that's what passive income does for you. The more you're building that alternative income source, the more you can feel that you've replaced what you used to get from your job income. So I think there's a psychology that's important to what we're talking about here. It's not just saving enough and even using investing as an accelerant. It's about having put all the pieces in place so that you're always comfortable about your financial situation. And I think the dividends is an amazing passive income source. I love it. Also, that high yield savings account is an amazing passive income source. The amount of interest, and by the way, a high yield savings account is an investment. Like it just is. Like you're investing in maybe a money market or a certificate of deposit or something that's bringing interest back into that bank account. So it's just more liquid, so you can get into it more easily a lot of the time. But anyways, that money, as that's growing, that interest you're getting, that's income. You have to report it as income. You pay taxes on the United States. At least that's because we're in a very income focused system. But you get enough savings built up, you could be making $1,000 or more a month in your savings account alone. Now, okay, when you could get to a point where you're at $12,000 a year in savings, maybe you're getting $6,000 a year in dividends. Maybe you take your skills and you put something out there, and you're getting some royalties on something. There's I put all these strategies in the book because it depends on what you like, who you are, but you put enough of those in place, and now you're still getting paid on top of having sufficient savings to live on. And all of a sudden, you're not just getting by. You actually might be getting ahead and actually continuing to build wealth, even though you're not working. And that's what I'm trying to teach people. It's how to build substantial wealth, generational wealth. Things. I'm not a die with zero person. I'm not like calculate exactly that number and then drain it out and say, all right, screw you, I'm ready. I'm done. I'm more of a have some legacy to leave by. It could be a charity, it could be to your family, it could be to whatever, but always feel like you got something, and whatever that is, it's empowering you to do something.
Yeah. What comes forward in your work and also in the other places that you speak is, and if I'm going to summarize here. So if there's anything incorrect, let me know. But what you're trying to do, I think, is you're trying to make people aware that time is a very valuable thing, and that applying skills and deploying financial resources or deploying resources in general, smart in the long run, can pay dividends. Not a literal dividend, but in this case, it can help you grow your wealth, and it very likely will help you grow your wealth. So whether you are very early, so a couple of examples, whether you are very early with investing consistently, it may be a very low risk, very boring way, but that way you build a lot of wealth over time in 10, 20, 30 years, depending on where you start. But at the same time, you apply the concept of time in a different way as well, because time can be invested to grow skill, and with skill you increase your capacity or your capability to generate more wealth, right? So whether it's getting higher paid jobs, or whether it's starting your own business, or whether it's writing a book in order, to get some income from that front. Those are all ways that you can use time to grow your wealth. I think that's, if I would have to summarize everything that you're saying into like a golden thread through what you're saying, that will be it. How does it sound to you? Is that a correct summary?
I think it's correct summary. Spot on. Tried to make that super clear in the book. I love that you were able to kind of suss that out just from our conversation. I believe that to my bones.
Mm-hmm.
So when you borrow money, you're taking money from your future and you're bringing it into your present.
Mm-hmm.
When you save money, you're taking money from your present and you're pushing it into your future.
Right.
And so when you're saving and investing and doing those things, you might feel like I'm losing money right now. But the truth is you're setting yourself up, your future self, to be in a much better situation than you are today. A little hit today can be a massive benefit tomorrow. So if you could, you'd thank yourself. Your future self will come back and thank you for doing that. But when you're borrowing, you're taking money from yourself, from your future. You're borrowing it forward. And sometimes it's hard to get that back. And sometimes we overborrow and it can be dangerous. But yeah, the time aspect, time is finite. We only have so much of it. It also is variable. The quality of that time changes depending on where we are in our lives. I can enjoy my time with my teenagers now. I'm not going to have that option to enjoy that time with them in this way in 10 years. It's just that there's a window of opportunity that will close. You mentioned the big regrets with retirement, and I actually start the book with this because I think it's so important. There's 5 big ones, and believe it or not, the first one is, people feel like, one, they don't retire early enough. They feel like they're expected to work to some older age, and they regret they didn't take that more time with family. There's regret that people actually save too much money, believe it or not, because they're working, not thinking about it on autopilot. Then they end up with way more money than they need. And they don't even know what to do with it, and they regret that. They regret that their health isn't what it used to be. That you could have done something, you could have prevented something. There's no amount of money that can buy back lost health. There's just not. So, there's these deep things that we need to think about. We need to learn from people, people who've gone before us. And if we pay attention, we listen to it, it is all about time. And if thinking about where you are today and optimizing for tomorrow, that you're truly in control of your life then, I think. And your skills have value, and you can build more skills with more time and have more value and continue to get ahead and thrive. Mm-hmm. So that is the premise of the book, is how to respect time, understand where you stand when it comes to time, and then most importantly, how to get ahead and be happy.
If someone is listening today who feels financially trapped, what is a piece of advice you could give that person?
The first thing I would ask is, how are you spending? A lot of people think that their paycheck comes in and then it disappears. 100% of the money you come in is gone. And then something might jump up and you're like, I don't have any money left. I have to use a credit card.
What problems did you solve? How did you break them down?
To start to get ahead, you have to make sure you're not spending everything you have every month. You're starting to get an understanding of what your actual standard of living is. That you're feeling good, you can safely start investing. Because once you start investing, that's when you're truly getting ahead. And that's what I want to help people with. Not just get by, but actually get ahead.